Let me welcome Billy and Romany to the stage. Welcome, Billy. Come. In fact, let's do this all sitting down, shall we? Do come and join me here. Have this microphone. There you go. Billy and Romany, both 17, both studying for their A-levels. And I think what we're going to try and do, I suppose, is give slightly more of an insight into this perspective of what's going on in the minds of 17-year-olds in terms of what their expectations are for transport. We're looking towards 2050, and I mean, looking around the room, it's frightening to say, but I mean, for you, looking around the room, by 2050, you're going to be the age of most of the people here. I mean, obviously, I look a lot younger. You know, I'm the good bit of it, you know. But out there, you're going to look like that lot. So, it's an interesting perspective. No, but seriously, it is an interesting perspective because, you know, we're putting in place transport plans which are going to really impact these guys here. So, let's find out a little bit more about how they perceive this fast-changing world. So, I suppose kick off. Let's start with Billy. You live in Brighton. I mean, tell us a bit about where you live, how you get about, what you do and don't like about transport. We heard a bit earlier, it's too expensive, it's rubbish. How's it for you?
Okay, so I live about 35-minute walk from the town centre in Brighton. I walk a lot, I get the bus, I cycle if I'm late, which is quite a lot. I get the train a lot if I'm going to London, and yeah, that's good, but what I don't like about the train and buses is they're so expensive. You know, it's like if you're over 14, you're considered an adult, and that's not right, I don't think. And that, you know, that causes a lot of my friends and me sometimes to fare dodge, and that happens a lot. It does. So I think in a way, you know, the train companies, by putting their prices so high, you know, they're losing money from young customers. They're losing trust in their services, and most importantly for me, they're losing the battle against the climate crisis, which is quite. I mean, as you've seen with the strikes and stuff, it's quite a big deal for my generation. We don't really feel like adults are doing enough at the moment to solve this. So yeah, I also. If I'm going across to different countries on holiday, for example, we usually go on family trips. So we take the car and the Channel Tunnel. I don't fly. I refuse to fly. But so at the moment, I'm doing a lot of university open days, right? And so I went to Edinburgh the other day, and it's like 20 quid cheaper to get the plane, but I was like, okay, to get the plane. I'm going to get the train because, you know, I have morals. I got a train. It ended up being 3 hours delayed, more expensive, worse service. It was really dirty when I got on there. You know, it's not looking good, the public transport at the moment.
So it sounds like overall you've got a pretty negative view of public transport. Romany, what about yourself? Similar?
Yeah, fairly similar.
Where do you live?
I live in West Sussex, which is quite far from Brighton. So I go in using an electric car, which is good to a certain extent, but it's still just a lesser evil, I think. I would really like to get the train into college every day, but the costs just aren't realistic for students with an allowance or working for minimum wage. It's not realistic, and as Billy said, it causes people to fare dodge, which just forces young people to break the law. And
so is it just about cost, or is it about frequency? I mean, Billy, you mentioned that they were in poor condition. Is it just about cost, or is it Romany? Yeah, what is it for you? Cost is one issue. Is it frequency? Is it quality of service? What?
Quality of service, I'm not so bothered about unless you get where you need to go. It really is just, I think making it more available, because there shouldn't be elitism within transport. we should encourage people as much as possible to opt for public transport and as little as possible for private vehicles.
I'm sure Claire would agree with you on that one. So let's talk about, I suppose, what the big disruptors that are facing us, and they're going to happen by 2050. And you've mentioned that you've got an electric car. I mean, electrification, self-driving vehicles, shared ownership. I mean, you have got experience of this, but you're not convinced. Why are you not convinced about this as being a future for really changing transport?
Well, it's the issues that come with the manufacturing of these vehicles. A lot of people think that the engines being made is quite bad with CO2 emissions, and also it's the energy sources that we use to provide these cars with electricity. But I mean, I think more and more people are starting to rely on more sustainable energy, such as solar and wind turbine. I mean, maybe not so much solar here, but there are so many options, and it's really exciting starting to explore them more.
Mm-hmm. So is it about the? I mean, you say you have got experience and you do use electric cars. The alternative for you, though, is a good bus service, be it electric or diesel or whatever, because of the fact that it is able to carry that many more people. It's a more efficient use of that resource.
Well, I think definitely buses and trains are what we should be opting for, but also in the future I hope that we can find more sustainable ways of running buses and trains, and I think that's very possible.
Okay. Billy, what about yourself? What are your? Do you think the future's electric? Is that exciting for you?
Yeah, I think Teslas are pretty cool, but even if every car was electric, we'd still have massive traffic jams, and there'd be people who are kind of inactive in their car, not really using the public services, and I think public services are that's definitely the direction we need to be going towards. Yeah.
I suppose there's also an awful lot. We heard a bit earlier about the fact that will people in the future actually be owning their own forms of transport, whether it's through the use or increased use of mobility as a service, or by use of shared ownership, hiring cars, etc. I mean, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, is that something which you think that would suit you in your generation, being able to find a car, electric or otherwise, and just put it on your app, go and use it for as long as you want? Is that the solution?
I think in an ideal world, nobody would have cars, electric or gas or whatever, but it's not an ideal world. People have medical emergencies and conditions and disabilities, and until we can accommodate those things efficiently on public transport, we will always need cars. And I think it's just about finding the best of a bad bunch and making them... Because
presumably you're not expecting the future to be all around you staying in Brighton or in West Sussex and not ever going out of your local coming to somewhere like to Farnborough and moving around the country. That is presumably all part and parcel of your future world. It's just public transport to do it.
Yes.
Right. And is that realistic? I mean, your experience of going to Edinburgh suggests not at the moment. But what about yourself and shared ownership? Would you be attracted to that kind of model?
Yeah, I'm not really fussed about kind of owning my own car, if I'm honest. I'd rather sort out climate change and have a car. And yeah, I think in general my generation's more kind of, we're open to the idea of using public transport and finding different ways of getting around places. Like e-bikes. Out there you can see a good showcase of scooters and e-bikes. But then if you look a bit further, you can see private jets. So I think, there's a lot, at the moment there seems to be a lot more money in private transport, and that's just, it's not right. We should be picking our goals, and I think our goals is to tackle this crisis and work towards that, not trying to find solutions in the system that we already have. We need to look beyond that, and we need to think outside the box in the way that we haven't done before.
But I suppose one of the things which you have got in your, to your advantage as you are native technology users, you know your way around apps, you stream music for free, probably. Or is that just because your dad pays for it? I don't know. I'm just my own personal experience. According to my kids, the music's free. I remind them, no, it's not actually, I pay. Let's not get into that. Anyway, but you have got the advantage of the fact that you are natives in all this. How, if you were influencing transport for the South East right now, are there ways that you would say technology will help them? How, what things have come to the top of your mind and say, we can learn from streaming music, we can learn from this. What could really change the dial in terms of the way you interact with transport?
Yeah, I think we should definitely be following, the way Spotify do their service. It shouldn't be like, it'd be amazing if you could have an app which would work for every bit of transport across the South East. That'd be great. I mean, it's kind of like. It seems trains is quite old-fashioned in the way that you kind of buy a ticket, it's paper ticket. I mean, you can get digital tickets now, but that never really seems to work for me anyway. So
that I mentioned earlier that my kids can use a single card to travel anywhere in London. That would make a huge difference to you, would it? That single card, single cap payment to go anywhere you wanted in the South East.
I mean, I'm in London a lot. I do a lot of travelling there. Over the summer, I spent 5 weeks there doing a course at a school. And yeah, I think all of this stuff is great. But again, it comes back to affordability. Whilst I was in London, my card ran out of money multiple times just from getting the tube every day. And it meant that I ended up wandering around London in the dark, which... I'm a teenage girl. It's not safe. It's not safe for anyone. And if I, who come from quite a privileged background, can't afford to travel regularly, how can anyone else? I still think it's about affordability. Okay. Well, look,
it is interesting that we have heard several views today from your generation, basically really highlighting how bad transport is. And I think it's very good that for people in the audience to hear that. And to I suppose to drill a bit further into what it is that will make it better. A lot of it does come down to cost. But go and give us your 2 minutes worth. I know you want to go to the lectern and actually tell us about what you think we should be doing now in a kind of a manifesto way. So the floor is yours. Give us your view when it comes to transport planning and planning a system for the future. What for you are the most important factors? We talk about cost, but what else? Far away.
Cool.
Yeah, you do it from here or do it from wherever you want to do it.
Yeah, we'll stand.
I know you've prepared something, so brace yourselves. Is this going to be a UN moment?
I mean, mine's not mind-blowing. I'll leave it mostly up to Billy. He's the one with the big speech. But at the moment, roughly a quarter of all energy-related CO2 emissions are down to transport. So for me, just primarily finding a more sustainable energy source for powering all these public transport systems, and also making public transport more widely available, as I keep saying. And elitism just shouldn't exist within this system, and change is coming, and it's time to choose which side of history we want to be on.
It's quite daunting standing here in front of you with all your knowledge and experience, and I do very much appreciate you letting me speak here today. But I also think we have to be realistic. Every generation has its crisis. For my grandparents, it was the Second World War. My dad said when he was younger, everybody was scared about nuclear destruction. And there's a huge crisis facing people in Britain today. And no, I'm not talking about Brexit. We are in the midst of a climate and ecological crisis. Yet in the UK, we still hand out millions in tax breaks for the fossil fuel industry, while at the same time neglecting our public transport systems. And if you want evidence that our public transport is failing, just look at the price of trains compared to planes. It's now cheaper for me to fly to Berlin than get a train to Birmingham. We're the generation that's going to have to deal with the consequences of climate change, Where many of the world's major low-lying cities are flooded, and there's human migration on a scale never seen, political systems and countries around the world are going to collapse. That is really scary. But what scares me more is the fact that we've known about climate change for decades, yet nothing really seems to be done about it. I'm sure many of the people here probably understand that it's the most important thing humans have ever faced. But if we're going to stay below 1.5 degrees of warming, where's the radical action that we so desperately need? I think the real problem is our system isn't very good at tackling long-term issues. Politicians only care about short-term things and getting re-elected. I guess that's why Extinction Rebellion is demanding total decarbonisation within 5 years. I know it probably won't happen, but it forces the issue now, rather than making it some long-term aspiration where the policymakers are no longer accountable. And that's got to be good because time is running out. All respected scientists are saying that the next 10 years are the most important in human existence, but at a time when everyone should be working together to fight this crisis, all you adults talk about is Brexit and money and the enduring need for economic growth. The truth is, we don't have infinite resources, so we can't have infinite growth. And we don't have infinite time, so we really need to get our priorities straight. It's as simple as that. The system needs to change. Even the Financial Times just a couple of weeks ago ran a big story saying capitalism is letting us down and needs to be reset because wealth has become too concentrated in the hands of a few. And trickle-down economics is a dangerous myth. So how do you change a system? I don't really know, but transport is as good a place to start as any. I think we should be looking at decarbonisation as a great opportunity, not a problem or a constraint. There's a chance here to really improve the lives of millions of people and create a transport system which works for everyone. This could be a bold first step to restoring people's faith in democracy. So I hope you think about future generations when you make your decisions. And even if you don't, as Greta said to the UN the other day, we're watching you. So please, please don't let us down. Thank you.